In verse 1, it says, "Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being lifted us is entered into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it." Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 1. We have come to the first "let us" in this epistle to the Hebrews. Constantly, Paul urges the Hebrews believers to go on with the Lord. He is constantly challenging them. This is the first "let us," but there is a whole lot of "let us" in this epistle. Let us therefore fear. There are always those folk who are eager to find fault even with the Word of God. And they will say that this statement is a contradiction of other statements in the Bible. We are told in Romans chapter 8 and verse 15, "For ye have not received uh, the spirit of bondage again, eh, of fear, again to fear." And Second Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7, Paul wrote, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind." Well, I have an answer for those folks in a message I have called "Is wrong when it is not wrong to fear." And that's J. Vernon McGee. I'm reading through the Bible by J. Vernon McGee and not me. I hope that you are afraid of rattlesnakes. Well, I barbecued one in Arizona. Remember that story? If I see one coming down the road, I don't simply move to the right hand side. I give him the whole road. I guess that's why I think of it that way. If I see a viper, I barbecue it. There are certain things that might be a metaphor for something, mightn't it? That you and I would do well to fear. Let us therefore fear. I wish there were more concern among believers today about ignorance of the Word of God. In a church I pastored, a man was on our church board who was on about every board in town because he had a lot of money. He actually boasted of how many boards he was on. Then one day he boasted to me of how ignorant he was of the Word of God. The writer of the Hebrews said, "Let us therefore fear." That man should have said to me with great concern, "Oh, my ignorance of the Word of God, I am afraid of it." There is a very few believers who are afraid of their ignorance of the Scriptures. When Paul says, "Let us therefore fear," he is speaking of a good fear. And it sounds more like to me, he's talking about respect, uh, something where you respect how something can harm you or hurt you. When I take my grandson for a walk, I warn them not to go out into the streets. His grandsons, not son, but anyway, I want them to be afraid to go out into the street. That is a good fear. The Word of God says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 7. That is the kind of fear you and I are to have. The fear is talking about is for a purpose, lest a promise being left out of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. He is talking, he is going to talk a great deal about rest in this chapter. The word rest occurs 8 times here. There are several different kinds of rest, including Sabbath day, or recreational rest, or Canaan rest. Here he is speaking of Canaan rest. He is saying uh, to believers, be afraid because you do not want to miss it. How many believers are missing that rest today? Have you entered into rest? Do you know, Christian friend, that really it is to really trust Christ and rest in Him? Do you know what it is like? So that concludes that section, and now we're going to move on